You are listening to the Call to Action podcast, where we aim to inspire, educate, and inform entrepreneurs and self starters on tech and tips related to navigating this ever changing world. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 45 of the Call to Action podcast. I am your host, Shantae, and today we are having a fireside chat with Dawn Rivers, who is an entrepreneur and is the founder and owner of Daybreak Yoga Studio. Before I bring our guest on to the show today, I have an inspirational quote that I'd like to share. And here is the inspirational quote for episode 45 of the Call to Action podcast. I invite a new beginning where there is all peace, love, and happiness. I'm going to say that one more time. I invite a new beginning where there is all peace, love, and happiness. I'm sure that can apply to everyone's life. Everyone. I don't think anyone can be excluded from that statement. So I hope you enjoyed that one. And I don't have the author for that one, so we'll put that as author unknown. If you missed episode 44 of the Call to Action podcast, as always, it is a must listen. My guest for that episode is Tiffany C. Lewis, who is an author of 7 fiction books, which are mostly crime fiction, and she has been published more than a dozen times in anthologies and magazines. And Tiffany shared a lot of very helpful information that any author can use. I was actually quite impressed with her knowledge, specifically when it comes to beta reading, and she shared so much information about that. So Tiffany is definitely an expert in her field. Take a listen to this clip from episode 44 of the Call to Action podcast.
A wonderful mentor, Monica Cox. I beta read for her. She encouraged me to believe that what I was doing was really important and impactful. And I've been beta reading for over 12 years now. And
Wow.
yeah, and like my bio says, I didn't even realize that at first what I was doing was beta reading. And so over the years of just constantly reading for other people and offering feedback, learning the best way to give feedback has created what I do now. And so when I worked with Monica, she just said, you need to give this information, to more people. And my thing about beta reading is I believe in the volunteerism of it. So I don't
Again, you can hear the full episode on ctamarketing.biz. When you're there, click on podcast on the main menu to access that episode, as well as previous episodes. As mentioned in the intro, I have Dawn Rivers on the show, and she is the founder and owner of Daybreak Yoga Studio, which is located in Bedford, Ohio, where she and her team hold daily classes, yoga teacher training, workshops, and events. She hosts yoga retreats in Ohio and Puerto Rico, and this year, her collective, Yogis of Color, is having their first annual yoga festival. And Dawn is going to share more information about all that she's done, including her upcoming conference in the show. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Dawn to the show today. So Dawn, welcome to the Call to Action podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I am great. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about our chats. I know we're going to have a good time.
All right. So Dawn, let me ask you this. Before I start my show with the guests, I break them in with an icebreaker. So I have one for you. And the one we have is, have you ever been told that you look like a celebrity? And if so, which celebrity was it?
So the answer is yes. And before I get started, I'm going to tell you a story to lead up to create some anticipation.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I had a favorite singer. She had just released her debut album. She came to Cleveland, Ohio to what was called the Front Row, which was a circular stage venue. And the stage kind of spinned around, turned around. That's what we'll say. It rotated. That would be the right word. It rotated
Okay.
around. So no matter where you sat in the space at the venue, you had a perfect seat. So I took my mom, my best friend took her mom. All of our birthdays were in September. It was a great time. I forgot to mention this. So years later, I was in what do you call it? A lip syncing contest at the high school that I attended, and I lip synced one of her songs. When I was in Japan, people would say, "Has anybody ever said you look like?" And folks would say this to me all the time. So the person is Whitney Houston. She was my
Mm.
idol. I loved her to like no end. And when I was in Japan, they said, "Whitney Houston? Whitney Houston?" In New York City, I was with a friend at a restaurant, and this bartender says, "Has anybody ever told you that you look like Whitney Houston?" And my friend was cracking up because she knows we went to high school together. And whenever something comes out still to this day about Whitney Houston, she'll send me information. She'll say, "Did you watch this? Did you see that?" So Whitney was my idol, and I'm sad to see her go. And I would always say I look like pre-crack Whitney because she changed after the drug abuse, which is so sad.
Yeah, but she was definitely talented. She's actually one of my favorites as well. So we will definitely remember Whitney through her music and her talent and all the great things and acting. She did movies too.
She did. I
She did
oh, I did.
Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard was my absolute favorite. I used to have it on VHS tape. Um,
VHS. Wait, you say
I
VHS?
I did, Shantae. I'm that years old. The Bodyguard, Waiting to Exhale, The Preacher's Wife, those were amazing movies. They were.
Yes, yes.
Anyway,
We'll miss Whitney. We'll definitely miss her.
hmm,
Okay, so now that we've talked about your celebrity status and who you look like as a celebrity, I want to talk more about your yoga practice and Daybreak yoga. I want to know, like, let's start with this. First of all, how'd you get started into yoga? Give
okay.
us the background on that.
The background is this. In 1999, when I was a wee young woman, I found a VHS tape at the public library of Rodney Yee. I call him the OG, the old gangster of yoga. And actually, Rodney Yee comes to Yoga on High all the time. He's had a long-standing relationship with them. He's a global yoga teacher, and my life was stressed out. I was not happy in my marriage. It was a lot of things going on. So I heard, as many people do, yoga is good for stress, and I was like, "Well, let me try this out." Popped in the tape. Rodney's like sitting in this field of grass and he's breathing easily. And the yoga practice, the asana or the postures, it was an easy flow. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I could do this." I did that for a couple of years. At the time, I was a school librarian. We had, what is it called? A corporate account. Some teachers had a corporate account with a local gym giving you a discount. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to go practice yoga with some people at a gym." This is my first time practicing in person. I really enjoyed it. I did that for maybe 3 years or so. And then there was this new phenomenon called hot yoga. And I
Hmm.
saw a postcard at a local restaurant or delicatessen saying 1 week of yoga for like $15. And I was like, "I'll go during spring break." I go to this first class. It was intermediate. And I said, "Well, I've been doing yoga for like 5 years now. I'm intermediate." I
Hmm.
go in there. These people were levitating and floating and jumping up into handstands and doing stuff I'd never seen before. I grabbed my yoga mat and almost ran out of the door. The
Wait, that
teacher
wasn't a
was like,
hot yoga
"Oh," and I was
class?
like, "I can't do that. I can't do that." So she's still my teacher, my friend to this day. And she was like, "It's okay." So I always remember what it's like going into a space that's intimidating.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she helped me stay.
No,
So I
wait, Don.
did
Let
yoga.
me ask you. Hold on. Was that the hot yoga class? They were in there flipping and doing handstands and
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Do.
Okay.
So I stayed and I did yoga for that week. I went every single day. I would take the owner's class. We called her the Taminator because she was hard. It would be 90 minutes, 90 degrees. I would come home and sleep for 2.5 hours because I was
Wow.
whipped out. But I loved it, Shantae. I loved it. And that summer they had one of those like summer deals for $99, 6 weeks. I was off in the summer, school librarian. I practiced 2 to 3 times a day sometimes. Like I would
Wow.
do one or two classes in the morning and one or two in the evening, depending on what was going on. By the end of the summer, they were like, hey, we are looking for karma yogis, which means that you could get free yoga if you clean the studio, the bathroom, help some teachers out. I was like, oh, yeah. So I did that on Saturday mornings, Friday nights, and maybe another time during the week so I could have free yoga. I did that for 3 years.
Mhm.
For 5 years, I was a desk yogi. So I checked people in, I got paid, and I got free yoga. So I still worked full time. I would work on the weekends at the yoga studio and twice evenings. I needed the yoga so desperately. So maybe
Wow.
about 2 or 3 years into me working as a desk person, I had seen many people training, and I was like, I think I want to be a yoga teacher. And one of my managers said, we know, we just been waiting for you to decide. And I was like, wait, what? You see me as a yoga teacher? When somebody sees something in you that you kind of think like, maybe I could do this, and they believed in me. So in 2012, I signed up for yoga teacher training that started that January. At the time, I was going through a divorce. So by the time yoga teacher training started, my divorce was ending. And a lot of people say that yoga helps you through these transitions. So I was doing a lot of the work, as we say in quotations,
Mhm.
to bring myself into like a space of more calm and happiness and peacefulness and finding myself. Then during yoga teacher training, which was 5 months, 200 hours, by the end, we had to write our goals. What did we want to do in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? And I was like, well, I want to work at this studio and teach yoga. I want to do this and this and this. And I said, I want to open up my own yoga studio in 5 years. I was thinking, I want to call it Daybreak Yoga. I used to have a slight side hustle called Daybreak Services, where I would help people write papers and edit them because I was a librarian. I would do research. So, this idea was to incorporate my journey, my spiritual path into yoga. And I wrote that down. And in 5 years, didn't even realize it because I've forgotten. I opened up my yoga studio in 2018.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That just goes to show the power, like, when you set your
Yes.
mind to something that you can achieve it. I love hearing stories like that. To me, that's inspiration right there. That
So,
is
but this is the
inspiration.
thing that people don't understand because I didn't say this part. After I graduated, I had private clients come into my apartment. I taught yoga at the YMCA all over greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. I did any kind of corporate thing. Wherever I could teach yoga, I did it. I taught and taught. I used Facebook to promote myself. This was back in the day when people would put flyers on cars. I put flyers on cars. I put things in restaurants, at boutiques, in grocery stores. I posted anything I could physically everywhere. So it wasn't just like I said I wanted to have it happen. I did the work. So in order to manifest, you have to put the work in, you have to prepare yourself. And then when the opportunity comes, you're ready for it. So I did that. I taught yoga at the schools for the kids, for our teachers and our staff. I taught yoga at any place that somebody was like, hey, Dawn, can you come here? I sure did.
That I like the idea of teaching it to the kids in schools. I think that would be very helpful. I wonder, do you do that now
I do.
or do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a current contract right now with actually it's at two Cleveland school districts schools, but it's through a third party. So the third party hired me to come in. We've done yoga for other schools, Cleveland schools, as well as a charter school. I've done, yeah, yeah,
So
plenty.
do you guys have you like tracked like the I know there's like tons of benefits and I want you to touch on that as well, but I'm interested in working with the kids like what you're doing with that. So are you all tracking like any behavioral changes that happened as a result of you going in there and teaching the kids yoga?
No, there's no like actual empirical data that we do because we're there once a week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so for this current contract, we're there for a semester. So I'm seeing the difference. At first, we had different kids that would pop in and pop out, but the coordinator at the schools finally said, "No, we're going to stick with this one set of kids. And I was like, in order for something to happen, you need to do that. They can't come in and come out and
Right.
think that one day a week is going to change them. The interesting thing is at a second school that I'm at, I have second and first and second grade, or second and third grade, second and third graders. They know exactly what we're doing. I have a whole curriculum because I did training for preschool through fifth grade, fourth grade, fifth grade through eighth grade, and then high school. So I have training for all ages of students, all ages of children,
I love that.
because they need different things. So
Yeah.
anyway, the teachers that stay after school, the classroom teachers, they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And the coordinator at the school, she said, "Wow, you're really good at this. Those kids love it." And I was like, "Well, because I have structure, and most kids want structure, and
Mhm.
then we still play and have fun, and we have a theme. We do affirmations, we do meditation, we do breathing, we do some physical asana practice, and they
Okay, hold
share
on.
their
You gotta
so
define those terms. What's physical? What's it
so
called?
physical, like so yoga doesn't mean just moving your body. Yoga is an ethical lifestyle.
Okay.
So yoga is breathing, yoga is meditation, yoga are the poses or physical postures, yoga is mindfulness, yoga is vibrating higher, yoga is eating differently, yoga is speaking differently, yoga is all of that. So
Mhm.
it's who you become. And
Okay.
I use each letter in yoga as a way to express what yoga is overall. We say it's your own growing awareness, for YOGA. The more you practice yoga, you become more aware of who you are and
Mhm.
what you no longer want to do, what you do want to do, the people in your life. Like as you start to heal yourself, because most people have some type of trauma or tragedy that's happened in their lives, and we can get stuck. So in yoga, they call those samskaras. Think about when you are driving in the snow and maybe you went off and got into the grass a little bit, and your car spins in that muddy, snowy, grassy part, and you can't get yourself out without some help, some salt or sand under the tire, or somebody pushing your car. So that rut is a samskara. We might get stuck in a rut and not know how to get out. Yoga, with your affirmations, with your breathing, with your meditation, with your surrendering, will help you get out of that rut. So
Very
when
good. You're
most
teaching the
people
kids
yoga,
that. Mhm.
huh?
And you're teaching the kids, like, all of that. Like you said, you have.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and grown-ups.
Wow.
Adults need this too, because adults have more to unpack. Right
Mhm.
now, if we start teaching students as young as ages 3 and 4 years old, these practices will have more love in our community by the time they become adults.
Yes. Yes.
Less injuries, less stress in their bodies that cause heart attacks and, cancer, all these things. We can heal ourselves if we go back to the basics of eating right, drinking a lot of water, going to bed on time, reducing our electronic input from social media and everything, computers, all of that. But I'm sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, I love that. I love the idea. It's just you're talking about helping the children, and which makes, like you say, healthier people, not just physically healthy. Because just so you know, like for yoga, until you explain the different aspects, I was only familiar with the poses and the breathing and the mindfulness. But when you're talking about eating right, like it is really a holistic way of life, which totally makes
Yes.
sense to me. It totally does. And I like the fact that you're introducing that to children at such a young age, because they're going to go and tell their parents about it. They're going to tell their family. Like, kids like to show what they know. And they're like, look what I
Exactly.
can do, and then that's going to get the parents and the other adults around them interested. So I think that is awesome.
Thank you.
So yes, that's really good. But I do want to ask about the benefits of yoga. So give us and talk to us like we know nothing about it, but give us the
Okay.
benefits of yoga because you're saying terms. I'm like, wait, go back. So
There
yes.
are so many benefits. First of all, we know that it will help with flexibility. And flexibility is a great thing because when your muscles are tight, it's hard to move around. So, yeah. However, you don't need to be able to touch your toes to do yoga. Yoga, there's all kind of forms of yoga. So there's power yoga, there's vinyasa yoga, there's anusara yoga, there's Mysore, there's jivamukti. There's all these different things from different parts of India, which is the kind of yoga that I practice. There's even Kemetic yoga that
Okay.
came from ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Hmm.
There's the baseline hatha yoga that most people know. So we have like this physical practice, but yoga is also studying. So they're called 8 limbs of yoga, and one of the limbs of the yoga is our yamas and niyamas. So this ethical practice of how you place yourself in the world. When you're studying and learning, it's self-improvement. Self-help books are $1 billion industry. Most of us
Hmm.
are trying to figure out, what can I do? What can I do? So in yoga, as a philosophical study, you're learning what are the known as the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali or the Upanishads, and they can go with any religion or any kind of ethical or moral practice that you study. So yoga is going to be flexible for the body, for your mind, intellectually, for your emotions, for your spirit. Yoga as a physical practice is really good for posture. Most of us don't have great posture. We're leaning over computers. It helps us have a tall, straight spine. So our head is stacked over our heart, stacked over our hips. As we get older, we have poor posture. We lean forward. When you lean forward, your head is heavy. You fall down, you can break a bone, and then you need replacements of hips or whatever. So yoga helps with that. Yoga
Mm.
is good to bring your blood pressure down. It's good for arthritis and other aches and pains in the body. It helps release and relieve the body of tension and stress. I mean, it's there's tons of benefits, and it's ancient. It's been around for thousands of years. First, as a practice of sitting in stillness. So yogis were mostly monks or people who could take themselves away and renounce their family, and they could study and sit with a teacher known as a guru and practice by um, talking of what is, like, what is life about? How can I be a better person? And then they added in the physical aspects of yoga poses so the body could be still, because it's hard
Mm.
to sit still and cross legs and listening. So if you move your body, you get some of that, what's what we call vrittis, this movement of the mind and the body to settle it down, so you can sit in stillness to learn, and then as well as to meditate. And the meditation, there's more evidence that meditation is good for both the mind and the brain, which are kind of two separate things. It's good for releasing trauma in your memories. It helps you stay more focused when it comes to tasks. It helps us when we're studying for examinations. It helps us to have better memory overall, to recall things in the past. Mindfulness goes on and on and on with benefits. So, this practice has been proven. Then there's a sister science to yoga called Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a practice of doing things in a systematic way, of eating based on what are called your doshas or your constitution. So, how your body is set up, its shape, its size, your energy level. If you're more relaxed or if you're more energetic, you might have to balance that out with certain foods and certain things that you do, how you eat, how you sleep, how you interact. So that sister science paired with your physical practice helps balance out your mind, body, and spirit. So you might be somebody who generally likes to eat heavy foods, but the heavier foods that you eat, it slows you down and you feel more lethargic, where you might need to eat lighter foods to bring you up to have more energy so you can be more productive. That could be the science of it. It also has to do with how you drink water, how you clean your teeth, how you go to the bathroom, all this kind of stuff.
That's interesting. So, how does cleaning your teeth, like the process, or you mean like?
Yeah, well, so for example, when you brush your teeth, you're only supposed to brush your teeth, not looking at your social media, listening to something on the phone. You brush it with intention so you actually clean your teeth. So you start
Okay, so
first
you're like
by
more on the side of being mindful of what you're doing, like
it
being
is,
in
but
the
no,
moment.
no, it's specific too. So you start by cleaning your tongue. You scrape your tongue with a tongue scraper
Okay.
because we have lots of junk on our tongue,
Hmm.
cleaning it out, cleaning between the teeth, flossing or whatever. Some practices even say putting coconut oil on your gums to help pull more toxins out of your mouth,
Hmm. Yep, I've heard of that.
and
Yeah.
rinsing and gargling and spitting it out. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's a whole thing, even cleaning your nostrils with a neti pot. So you get this ear, nose, throat thing, doing what is called dry brushing to help the lymphatic system remove any toxins and drain out of your body. So it's very, yeah, it's specific routines that you do as long as you're alive to keep healthy. You don't stop doing it. It's like, oh, I did this for 21 days. I'm good. No, it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, I'm glad you clarified that. But no, that definitely does make sense. And doing things with intention and
Yes.
being mindful and in the moment. And yeah, the phones and the social media and just getting rid of that distraction, that alone can really make a difference in, I think, in anybody's life and what they're doing if they can just step away from that. Just because of all the messages that are, thrown into the pot of social media and television and news and things like that.
Well,
So,
absolutely. But if you think
yeah.
about if you're brushing your teeth,
Hmm.
you're rushing. Most of us rush, and we don't take the 2 minutes or 4 minutes to actually brush each tooth, right?
Right.
This is like, I don't have 4 minutes. I don't have 2 minutes. So you quickly brush and then you leave.
Yeah.
And your teeth are a part of the digestive system. Your teeth are a part of your overall health. So when our teeth aren't healthy, we can have a plethora of problems because of pain, because of missing teeth, because of gum disease, all of this stuff that we take for granted instead of
Right.
maybe getting up a little earlier and setting more time to brush our teeth thoroughly, clean the tongue, floss, gargle, whatever you do. Take that time out. It's 4 minutes. 4 minutes is worth you not losing your teeth.
Right, right. Not
Yeah,
to mention you wanna have healthy teeth because that aids in digestion,
it
and that
does.
brings in a whole whole 'nother set of problems. If you have digestive issues, you can pretty much
Absolutely.
hang it
Yes.
up. I mean, dramatic sense, but yeah, I mean, you definitely that makes sense, Don. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm getting off my soapbox. I'm going to step down.
No, no, this is good because, I mean, just something we took something as simple as brushing your teeth, and now I get a whole different picture
Yeah,
of
that's
how it
yoga.
ties into yoga just because of what you were saying. So, no, that
That's
was
yoga.
good.
Yeah, yoga is really about taking time. That's why I say your own growing awareness. It's about you. So you become more aware of, like, did I brush my teeth good? They feel a little filmy right now. That's being more aware. Did I actually pause and sit down and drink this water? Being more aware. Did I take time to read a book today? More aware. Did I take time to spend, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes asking my family what they did today? That's awareness.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
yoga.
Yeah. Wow. Makes sense. It definitely makes sense to me. So, another question I have
Yes.
is, like, if someone's just getting started, like, just someone who's never done it, um, and what would you recommend is like a good starting point for someone who is totally brand new to the idea of yoga?
Okay, I have like four things. First is to change what you think yoga is. Most people think they cannot do yoga. They think it's hard. They see these images, which social media has not helped, of skinny people tying themselves in knots. That is one aspect of yoga, but yoga doesn't mean that you ever have to be in the space of crazy postures.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing, that everybody, meaning your shape, your size, your age, can do yoga. And yoga might be new. So I try to say it's not hard, it's new. And anything that we do that's new, there's an element of a challenge in it. But we have to be open minded to try it. The first thing is to practice breathing. Most people breathe in short, eradicated sometimes breaths instead of elongating their breath, slowing it down, controlling it. So filling the breath up deeply, that's part of the yoga practice. We call it pranayama. So learning how to do different breathing techniques. The second is, if you can only do one thing a day, stand up and fold, reaching your fingers down towards your toes.
Okay,
And
just like
then
stand straight up and just kind of just bend over.
just bend over.
Okay.
Just bend
Okay.
over. And then stand straight up and reach your arms to the sky.
Okay.
Stretch tall to the sky and then do it again. Fold over and reach down to your toes. That's a yoga practice right there.
That's
So
simple.
it's
Yeah.
simple, but it will change your body. It'll change your posture. It'll help release some of the tension in your hamstrings, because you and I are both sitting down right now in front of a computer
Yes, we are, which is usually done like all day.
all day, all day. So
Yes.
hamstring stretching will release any tension in the lower back. A lot of people have lower back issues. When we fold, it's called an inversion. We bring blood to our brain. It cools the brain down so the brain can actually function better. It helps release any of the tightness of a headache, and it helps the blood flow so we have more circulation to keep any issues from like strokes happening or aneurysms by moving the blood around. When you raise your arms up, it brings a heart rate up because it requires a heart to beat a little bit harder to bring the that energy, that blood flow to the fingertips. So right there. Then the last thing is to drink water, not flavored
Mm.
water, not with bubbles, and just get you some good spring water and drink the whole glass a few times a day, because you're
Mhm.
flushing your system. Your body needs the oxygen from the water. Your body needs the water to move around the digestion, to go into the cells, because the cells are mostly water, to pick up some of those toxins and eliminate it out of the system through through going to the bathroom.
Right, right.
Yeah, and that's yoga.
See,
So
that's simple
breathing.
enough. Yeah.
First of all,
Breathing.
get your mind right. Get your
Okay.
mind right.
Mhm. Get the mind right.
Breathe.
Okay.
Breathe.
Mhm.
Stand up and bend down and touch your toes. If you can't all the way touch them, that's okay. And then drink water.
That's very good because, yeah, for someone who doesn't know or may have reservations because of something they were taught, from growing up, but now it's like there's nothing else tied to it. There's no religion or anything. Anybody
Yoga is
can do
not a
this.
religion. Let
Yes.
me, it's not. It's a lifestyle, it's a philosophy. Now,
Mhm.
people in India who practice Hinduism, some of those people have practiced yoga, and yoga has been aligned to that because that's their major religion. So, Hinduism is really no different than Islam, than Christianity. They also believe in a God. The Hinduism practice of mythology, as I said, has many gods, but those many gods are really just one God. The many gods represent the different personalities of God, and the people wanted to have that God look like themselves. So just like the images of Jesus looks like Jesus is from the Middle East,
Mhm.
but if you have, if you live in Africa and parts of Africa, you might paint Jesus black, looking like you.
Mhm.
Or if you're in maybe in Japan, maybe Jesus looks more Japanese. Who knows?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's one thing. So they still have their representation. The language is Sanskrit that goes with yoga, which doesn't mean that you're saying words that are demonic or evil. It's just as if you were to study Spanish or French and you never spoke it before. You have to learn a new language. You don't really know what you're saying. You have to trust the teacher telling you those words. Same thing in yoga. So you trust the teacher and thousands of years of people saying the same things. If you don't want to say them, you don't have to say them. It doesn't evoke anything religious.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
aligning you with a divine higher power if you choose to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like how you put that, and I like how you gave the four basic, introductory steps
Hmm.
on how to do it and how just to get involved. So to
Just get
me, for people, that leaves no excuse. You know, anybody can do it, any
anybody
age,
can.
and it doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're like super fit or not. Everyone can stand up, and bend over and
But you know what,
breathe and.
Shante, the other thing, like I said this morning when I was at doing a class at an event,
Mhm,
is yoga is, for the style of yoga that I teach, there's no high impact. So your joints are not going to get smashed down, right?
mhm,
When we do kickboxing and step and running and CrossFit, there's high impact in that. And over time, it can cause some issues with your connective tissue, like your joints, your cartilage, your ligaments, your tendons. But in yoga, if we practice it correctly and properly, we have less issues with this deterioration of the connective tissue. I'm not saying it's impossible for it to happen. You can still get injured for sure,
mhm.
but most people who practice yoga continue to be safe. And no matter what your body shape or size is, you can still move to your degree and get the benefits. It's never about losing weight, right? You don't have to
Thanks
be
to
like,
social media, that's usually what you tend to see,
I
like you were
know,
saying
but it's
before.
not.
Right, which is misleading, and that's one of those things too. It's like I'm always, I would tell anyone, do your own research, but I'm glad I have you here to explain what you're explaining because first of all, you have a lot more experience than I do in yoga. But I just but what you're sharing is very valuable. So go ahead.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
mean to cut
never
you off.
about losing weight. It's really about maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Mhm.
And some of these old gurus who studied 100 years ago under original teachers in India before it came to the West, those people lived a long time. They lived
Mm.
into their 80s and 90s and they still practice yoga every day. You can't say that about every other type of physical activity.
That's true.
You
That's
can't.
true.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, this hurt, or I broke this, or I had a knee replacement, those kind of things.
Yeah, like what you hear with high impact sports like football, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
However, more and more professional sports are incorporating yoga.
That's great.
They are.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that is great. That is great. So, and I have another question for you.
Yeah,
I see that you do yoga teacher training.
I do.
Okay, so how does one get involved with yoga teacher training from Don?
So right now our system is in person but hybrid. So I don't have a fully online yoga session yet. I'm still debating on if I want to do that. So right now I have eight individuals, all people of color, in my yoga teacher training. They come and we train on weekends, 2 to 3 weekends a month for about almost 5 months. They will do some things with me in person. Then we have lunch, and then they come online. They learn so much stuff. We learn about anatomy, history, philosophy, how to teach, how to move your body, how to find your voice, how to speak into a student's life. They practice, 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 and then they show me what they learn. So, in order for somebody to apply, We have an application on our website. I usually do an interview, because just because you want to do it doesn't mean that necessarily we vibe, right?
Right,
Different
right.
kind of energy that might, be different than someone else. And if we all connect and we work, then they're accepted into my training, and we spend 200 hours together.
Wow, 200 hours. That's why you say 3 to 4 weekends a month, and then for 5
Two or three
months?
weekends a month. 2 or 3 weekends.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's 10
okay.
3 4. So and it's they have their own bond. So this cohort, they're so lovely, and they're really starting to connect. We have a training this weekend. It'll be their third weekend together. This is my fourth cohort. The first ones, um, the first one that I ever did was right at the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know the pandemic was coming. We were so excited, like,
Wow.
yeah, we're doing this. And then March 2019, 20, sorry, 20, March 2020, I had to close the studio, and we went entirely virtual. At the time, we were all in studio. There was no virtual element. And I didn't have any like virtual presence, really. No classes were taught online, no workshops were taught online. I didn't know what I was doing. And then we all had to learn. But the greatest part about that is that first cohort, they learned how to be teachers online right away.
Well, yeah, yeah. They're kinda
It's
just
just,
kinda thrown into it, huh? You were
yeah,
too.
they did. So it was trial by
Yeah.
fire. And they did very well. So I had 7 people in that training. And then the next training, I had 6, but one person passed away. And
Oh,
this
okay.
past training, I had 4, but we had a flood in the yoga studio. Seems like we've had something every single time. I'm praying for this current cohort that nothing happens. That
I'm sure you
we
all will
will
be
get
fine.
safe, and everyone will be intact.
Yes, yes, definitely. Wow. Okay, so now tell us about your yoga retreats. I wanna hear about the ones in Puerto Rico. Like, how'd you
Oh
get
man.
started doing those?
So, this is my story. Because I practiced at that yoga studio I mentioned, the hot yoga studio, power yoga hot studio, for 10 years almost.
Mhm.
And I was one of very few people of color, or I should say a black woman, that practiced there, because back in the early 2000s, I had a relaxer, and then I let go of the relaxer, and then I had like the press and curl, or like the silk press.
Mhm.
So if it's 90 degrees in there, I'm sweating out my hair.
Oh, it's all natural, honey. It's
So
going
like
right back.
natural wasn't a thing yet. So it's like natural
Oh.
came later. A lot of black women weren't coming through. They were like, it's hot in here. I'll sweat my hair out. I don't want to do it. And so I was kind of like alone. I would see white women going to Tulum and on these yoga retreats in beautiful places around the world in February. And I was like, I can't do that. I have a full-time job. I don't know how that's going to work, all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So then once I started to create Daybreak Yoga, I saw um, Instagram was starting to pop up, and I started to look for other yogis that look like me. I said, where are the men and women who are black and brown in the United States and around the world? So I started to find people. And I found a woman, her name is Octavia Rahim, down in Atlanta. She was having a women of color yoga retreat, and it was during my birthday month, called Dawn Timber. I said,
Oh.
I'm going to spend Dawn Timber with her and these other people. I went down there, didn't know anybody, and there were mostly women from Atlanta, but there were some women from California, Chicago, Charlotte, New York. And I was like, whoa, we don't have anything like this up in Ohio.
Mhm.
I created it. So I had a Women of Color yoga retreat in 2018, had one in 2019, had to pause it in 2020, had one in 2021, and then we're going to have one in 2022. So the Women of Color yoga retreat is in Ohio. We have a space down in Peebles, Ohio, which is southeast in the Appalachian Hills. There's a whole beautiful space. It's called Hope Springs Institute, where we have a yoga space, a meditation room, cabins, as well as a farmhouse. They make
Mm.
delicious food for us. It's quiet. There's a labyrinth. There's acres and acres of land to hike. There's a hot tub. So we do that one. That's in September. That would be, or also known as Dawn Timber, aka
Right.
Dawn.
I see now. Yeah, Don Timber.
That will be September, Labor Day weekend. Then this year, I'm having my first all person retreat through Daybreak Yoga. It's called Surrender and Receive. And that's in a space about an hour from downtown Cleveland going west, kind of near Cedar Point.
Okay.
This one, I've collected some friends to work with me. So I have a keynote speaker who's going to talk about the power of surrender. I have an artist who's going to do a collective group activity doing art to help you surrender, to receive. One of my team members is going to be playing her crystal singing bowls, as well as she has like a xylophone and chimes, all this kind of stuff
Oh, that sounds
for,
calming already. Just you saying that, I just feel
right?
chills.
To help us surrender. They'll have
Wow.
yoga every day. So it's on a farm. It's called the Bellwether Farm. The food is amazing. So it's farm to table because the farm is right out there. I want to say it's the Episcopal Diocese of Northeast Ohio, something like that. And
Okay.
Chef Lonnie, he prepared amazing food. I don't eat meat, but I was never hungry. He prepared special stuff just for my dietary restrictions. I
Nice. That's
it
always
is
good. You know what they tend to do when we do events? My husband and I go on business
mhm.
trips, and you tell them you don't eat meat. They'll give you like a plate of like iceberg. I'm like,
Exactly.
that is not a
That is
meal. Like,
not, no, no.
right.
It was so good, Shantae. It was so flavor because he's a black man. He knew how to put some seasoning in that stuff. It was delicious. And some people had lamb and they said it was the most tender lamb because it comes from the farm. The chickens from the farm,
Yeah.
from the pigs from the farm, everything from the farm right there. So it's delicious.
You know what's funny? It's like so different. Like when you get food, even from your garden,
Uh-huh.
like when you're growing
Uh-huh.
veggies in your garden versus what you get from the grocery store, like the flavor from the
Flavor.
garden vegetables is so real and so delicious. Like I just love going out, grabbing some veggies and making a salad. To me, it's like the best thing in the summer.
It
I
is the
love
best thing.
that. I
And
love
he
it.
does it seasonally. So whatever is in season, I think he said between he and the farmer, they plan all the meals. And when I was there for this other retreat, I was there for 4 days. And I want to say maybe it was 15 people. They
Hmm.
spent maybe $200 outside of the farm for the food. That's it.
Wow.
They waste not.
That's good.
It is okay.
That's
So
good.
that's in May.
Okay.
That'll be May 13th, 14th, and 15th. In 2021, I can't remember what I called this the pandemic plus plus. I'm like, which year of the pandemic are we in? So in 2021, I went down to Puerto Rico for the first time, fell in love with it. I went for a birthday kind of celebration for a friend. And then I went down for Dawn Timber for my
Hmm.
own birthday. And I was like, so when I was at the retreat in Ohio, I was like, I want to have a yoga retreat, kind of international. And I started to look in Puerto Rico, was talking to some people online, and found this place. It's called Casa Alternativadad. It's
Hmm.
it's like the house, the alternative house in England. So I went down there by myself, driving through the rainforest, found this place, and I was like, oh,
It's
so
beautiful, I'm assuming.
I can't. Yes, too bad you can't see my face.
Right.
So it's behind this wall. It's very secure and safe. This man named Yancey bought this gutted out structure and built it from the ground up. So it is white, clean, pristine. Every single room has artwork or murals painted on the wall by a local muralist who's Puerto Rican. During the pandemic, she was out of work, so he
Oh,
hired her and
wow.
she came and painted. So there'd be like the flowers, the animals, the different things from the Puerto Rican rainforest on these walls. Every single room has its own theme with color schemes, the bedding. It could be a canopy bed, the mural. I mean, the bureaus, the Chester drawers, everything. Bathroom. It was gorgeous.
Wow.
They
That
make
sounds
the
nice.
food right there, so we get all of our meals served. There's a rooftop. We'll do yoga. When you're on the rooftop, you can see the rainforest in the distance, which is not far. You can see the mountains. You can see the beach. Every single person who comes to the retreat will get a massage. We're going on an adventure in the rainforest and learning about this beautiful, magical space. We go through what he calls the womb. So everybody will be rebirthed in this process. If you want to jump into the water and go through the waterfalls, we'll do that. We're even having a ceremony on the beach in the ocean because the ocean is healing. And especially as people of color whose ancestors came from Africa during, the transatlantic slave trade, there's trauma there. So it's
Yeah.
like releasing the trauma back to the water and embracing this healing and acceptance of where we are to re-establish ourselves. So I call this one
Wow.
awakening the light within. We're awakening our sense of smell, sight, touch, taste, everything, because it is just like, I don't know, it's like it's a magical experience. When I was there, because I was by myself, I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I spent like 3 or 4 hours talking to this man, looking at this resort, thinking like it's amazing. I need people to see this. It will transform you. So everything is included except for your flight. Going to Puerto Rico from the United States is one of the easiest ways to travel because it's an American territory. You don't have to worry about customs. You don't have to worry about money exchange because it's the American dollar down there.
Okay.
Right. And most people are bilingual, so they speak Spanish and English. They're happy to have us because it's a tourist economy. So they
Hmm.
need the tourists to come down. And so we have space for 7 more people. Everything, like I said, is included. It's June 9th through 13th. So Thursday through Monday, they're going to pick us up from the airport. You'll see the beauty of San Juan, which is one of their major cities, and we'll go through that on our way from San Juan to the resort on the cusp of the rainforest. And yeah,
That sounds very nice.
it
Very,
is
very
super
nice.
cool.
Yeah, that sounds very nice. So, after my next question, I'm going to have you leave contact information
Okay,
and then also email it to me so I can put it on the website as well so that
for sure.
people can know how to contact you. Um, but thank you for sharing that because that sounds really, really nice. Is it a couples or is it just like for singles or does it matter?
It does not matter. So we have what are called single and shared rooms. A shared room means that each person pays for that room and might have two full size beds in them, where a single room is just going to have one bed. So if it's two people who are a couple in a single room, they both have to pay because the payment is for the experience as well as the room, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
like if you went on to what's it called? Like a holiday at one of the resorts like Sandals, everybody has to pay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing there.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, I have like a totally entrepreneur related question.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
So
we
I'd
really
like
haven't talked about the whole entrepreneur like thing.
yeah, yeah. So what I wanted to know is, you've been doing this for how many years, like on your own, having your
Okay, well, right. So I was a school librarian for 20 years. I actually resigned in 2019. I opened my studio, like I said, in 2018. I worked my full time job. I would get up in the morning, do administrative work, go work full time at the school library, teach yoga at the school, come home, maybe, no, I didn't come home. I went straight to the yoga studio.
I was gonna
Teach,
say, mhm.
yeah, I didn't. I didn't. I don't know why I'm trying to say that.
Right.
2 more classes at the yoga studio. So at the time, I had two other teachers and then a sub. So mostly it was me teaching. I was exhausted, but I knew that I had to learn how to be an entrepreneur. I was in some entrepreneur kind of groups up in Northeast Ohio called
Mhm.
Jumpstart, the Urban League. We have a women's business center here. I think it might be down in Columbus too. I was a part of that. I did some stuff with the Hispanics Business Center. Anybody who was willing to teach me about entrepreneurship, I signed up for a class, a course, a training. I was coached by people. One of my coaches He lived in California. And this is funny because Zoom has been around, but nobody used Zoom back then. So we had phone calls for our group session, and it would be at 10 o'clock at night after I've been up all day.
Oh, no.
But Shantae, I was hungry.
Yeah.
I would do this coaching for 6 weeks with him, and then do some more coaching. I was doing my advanced yoga teacher training in Washington D.C. So I would drive to D.C. once a month for 10 months,
Oh my gosh.
train. All this during my full-time job because I needed to learn how to do it. And then I resigned in 2019, September 2019. I didn't go back for that school year.
Mhm.
2020, the pandemic happened. And I was like, Jesus, I thought you said I could quit my job.
I was gonna
So
ask you, like, were you like at that moment when you decided to stop working, was it like excitement or fear or a
it was
combination of the
it was
two?
a combination. I had turned 50 and I had 50 things by my 50th year that I was doing. And one of them was to quit my job. Because
Okay.
when you become an entrepreneur and you know you're ready, I did more like every during breaks between classes, during lunch, any time that I had, I was working on my business.
Oh,
I had
yeah. Mhm.
my MacBook next to my desktop, and I was working on my business. I would do webinars during lunch. I would do online trainings during lunch. It was time to go.
Yeah. Yeah. You were already mentally gone. You were already
I
into your
was
new
mentally
business.
gone. Yep.
Mhm. Mhm. That's awesome. Now as far as marketing your business,
Ah,
currently, I know back in the day you said you did flyers.
I sure did.
So so now, what have you found, that works? So,
Oh
if
gosh.
you were to tell another entrepreneur, like, "Okay, I have a yoga studio. This is what I do to market my business." Like, share with us something like that.
I am still learning because I am an older generational person. So
Okay.
things are not inherently fast for me. My main medium is Instagram, and I have
No,
gotten
that's
a
good.
lot of people from Instagram. Facebook tends to change. People support me on Facebook, but they don't purchase from me. They support me as Dawn. They don't
Mhm.
necessarily support Daybreak. But yes, we have websites. I have a Dawn and Rivers website. I have a Yogis of Color website. I have a Daybreak Yoga website. So I have three of them. And I have 3 pages on Instagram and 3 pages on Facebook because Facebook owns Instagram. You have to do them
Yes.
together.
Right.
So when I first started, before I opened up Daybreak, I rented a space in the back of a martial arts studio. And I used Facebook events to promote myself. And that's how I got clients.
Okay.
It's
So
not
that's a form of
immediate.
marketing, Don. You do know that, right? What
I
you're
do
doing
know
is
that, but
yeah.
it's changed. That was back in 2017. So it's changed since then.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
I don't use that as much. I use Instagram and Facebook ads. So they give me some reach.
Okay.
And just recently, this is one of the main things, the best investment I've done. I'm on my second month is a texting community software.
Okay.
So there's different programs out there. We actually use one that's called Community, and they're not paying me. So y'all can tell them,
I'm
hey,
not getting
Dawn.
paid off this one either, guys, so you can go ahead and tell.
Community is a way for people to engage with you easier than uh, like a newsletter campaign. We also send out newsletters, but the open rate goes up and down. People don't check that. People will check their phone and their text messages much faster.
That is
So we've
true.
been
Yeah.
slowly promoting our texting. We have about 105 people on in our community. We've been on not quite 2 months. I just paid for the second month. So we've been on one full month and now we're in our second month. I can send out text to separate like groups that I can create within the greater community. So if somebody wants to know information about the retreats, I have a whole section for that. I can send them information. Those who wanted to learn more about my yoga teacher training, they could text that and I send out. So I can send out to 2, 3 people, 50 people, the whole thing to just certain demographics. It's great. So
Okay.
it's gotten me new clients. It's gotten us people who book retreats, who've booked private sessions, who've booked our events, all through the texting. To me, that is one of the best marketing tools out there.
See, I'm glad you shared that because I hadn't heard of community before. So that's good. That's different. Usually people, when I talk to them, they either say they don't do much marketing or they're still trying to figure it out or they're using social media and some do
If
paid
you don't do
ads.
marketing, you're not in business.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
sorry that you can't just think that friends and family are going to support your business. So I have a brick and mortar. That means I have to pay rent, insurance, all utilities,
Mhm.
right? And team members.
Yeah,
So I have to make money. I have to
yeah,
make money. It's not just because I want to make money. I have to make money just as a baseline to stay open as a brick and mortar. Then
right.
everything else is extra. So if I were just to think that my friends are going to always buy yoga packages and deals, I would have been out of business right away because they
Mhm.
don't do it. They love you. They might share your stuff on Instagram, or somebody says, "Hey, do you know somebody who does yoga?" "Oh yeah, Dawn does it."
Yeah,
You have to believe and know that your ideal client is out there. The ideal client is not your friend. They're paying customer.
right. And usually people
Right.
you don't know.
These are people you don't know. So you have to
Yeah.
market.
Mhm.
You have to market, market, market. So we use Google. I'm still learning SEOs and how that works, but we have a Google presence. I've done a lot by saying all the different words. We use our blog to help us, all these things. And yeah, I could learn more. I can be better. But if anything, the texting, it's about $50 a month for the level that I'm on. And yeah, people are engaged. They're
That's
engaged with
good.
that.
That's really good. That's very good. So, Don, wow, you have shared a lot. I feel like I'm definitely more educated when it comes to yoga. And I like how you just explained certain things and how you made it simple for someone who doesn't know anything about it on how to get started. So, I think that's important too, because for some people who just don't know, and then for you to share the importance of it and the benefits, that's very impressive too, which I knew, but I like to have an expert come on and share that information too. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for being a guest on the show. So now what I want to know is if you can share your contact information. So like you said you had three
Mhm.
pages on
Right.
Facebook and IG, like just run down your names
Okay.
so we can find you. And then also I'm gonna put it
Okay.
on the website as well.
I'm gonna keep it simple.
Okay.
So for me, everything is Dawn M. Rivers. Real easy. Dawn M. Rivers on Facebook, Dawn M. Rivers on Instagram, dawnmrivers.com.
That's easy. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And we can
Or
find your other oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, they can find it through there. And then for Daybreak Yoga, it's Daybreak dot yoga. I paid more for the dot yoga. I didn't want a dot com. I was like, this got to be out there. It is. So you can change some stuff up. So dot
Cool.
yoga. Mm-hmm, I know. Dot yoga is our website. Or Daybreak dot yoga is our website. Daybreak dot yoga is Instagram. Daybreak dot yoga is Facebook. So it's consistent. Or you can just put Dawn Daybreak Yoga in Google and it'll come up.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, Don. Okay, so I have one last thing. One
Yes.
last thing. So, can you share any last words of wisdom? Do you have anything you want to share and leave with the audience?
I'm going to share this affirmation kind of quote that I got from a book I read last year called The Big Leap. It's very good for entrepreneurs. It talks about four zones of geniuses. So you have one, like a zone of incompetence, a zone of competence, a zone of excellence, and a zone of genius. And we should work more from our zone of genius and
Mm,
hire out, especially for the zone of incompetence. So in the book, this is what I forget what he calls it, but it's like an affirmation. The affirmation is I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same.
I like that.
I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same.
That is very nice. Yeah, I like that. I love affirmations. I put them on my Facebook page all the time. So I meant to take that one.
It's not mine. His name is Gay Hendricks. It's not mine. Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap. Entrepreneurs, go get that book. We also have a Daybreak Amazon store, so you can go to our website, scroll
Yeah,
down to the bottom to Amazon, click
give
on
me the
that.
link. I'll post it.
I
Give me the
will,
link. Yeah.
seriously, because we get like an affiliate. We get between 5 and 10%
Every little
per.
bit helps. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Give me that link, Don, and I'll post it with this
Okay.
podcast so it's all accessible together. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. You're welcome. All right. So I just want to say thank you again, Don. It's definitely been a pleasure. And I'm thinking we're going to do some yoga when we get off this call just because I've been
Yay.
sitting all day. It's like, you know what? I could
Mhm.
get up and touch my toes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's really nice. And I'm joking, but I do yoga from time to time. I've done it and it does feel good. Like you just feel this energy that just comes over you and it just kind of does it. You can tell like everything you were saying was true. It does release any tensions that you have and you
Yep.
have clearer thinking and it really does feel good. So I do recommend that anyone who's interested just dive right in, and she gave the simple steps, get your breathing right and get up, touch toes and stretch but I
Yes.
think it's all
And drink
good.
water.
And drink water. That is so major. Yes. Definitely staying hydrated is key.
Key. Most
Mhm.
of us walk around dehydrated. So, yes.
Yes. Yes. Definitely, definitely. So again, thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much
much.
for letting me share all my stuff on your podcast.
Yeah, it was fun. I appreciated it. So, to everyone else, thank you all for tuning in. And remember to go and check out ctamarketing.biz, where you can read blog posts and also check out this episode as well as past episodes of the Call to Action podcast. You can also support the show by purchasing merch or making a donation so that I can continue bringing you quality content and actionable tips and tricks to help you to navigate this ever changing world. Also, and remind you all too, if you haven't gotten your copy of my audiobook, QR Codes for Beginners, go ahead and get that. It's available on the website as well. And then also, I want to mention another fellow podcaster. His name is York Campbell, and he is the creator of the Poetic Earthlings podcast. And if you are into science fiction, go and check him out. And also, he does audio dramas, science fiction audio dramas. They're very creative, very out of this world, and very entertaining. And I also do voice work with him. So you will hear my voice as a talent in some of his podcasts. I do voice acting with him and his team. So it's a lot of fun. So make sure you check it out as well. And you can find that on poeticearthlings.com. So this concludes episode 45 of the Call to Action podcast. And to all of the entrepreneurs, self starters, authors, small business owners, remember the code. The journey begins when you take the first step. Courage, optimism, determination, and enthusiasm are the tools that will help you along the way. Until next time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Call to Action podcast. Make sure to visit me at ctamarketing.biz. There you can find articles for entrepreneurs and self-starters on tech and tips related to navigating this ever-changing world. Until next time.